Welcome back to Debbie J's Crafting Corner. This is Debbie, and I'm going to be doing some more cards using the Club Kits of the Month from Spellbinders for the month of October. Right now I have out the outline Christmas sentiments and the Poinsettia spray. Say it the way you want, right? That is the die of the month and the glimmer of the month for October. And I'm going to start off by just glimmering up, and it would help if I had this right. I'm using my quick trimmer to trim my my foil down, and I have the top plate upside down. So there is a little ridge on both sides that gives you just a little bit of space there. So it's you can press down and hold everything, but you can still move things around if you need to. And of course, I had it upside down, so the ridges were up, so it also didn't let my blade go all the way down. Because the way it's designed to use just this way. If you try to do it the other way around, it's not going to work for you. So what I'm doing is I'm just trimming off a piece that's going to be big enough for my glimmer spray. This is a poinsettia. It's just gorgeous. And one reason why I'm using the sets together, that's probably been my biggest issue, trying to figure out exactly what I'm going to do, because you know what? We've got everything works together so well in this month's collection. I mean, I just did a card last week, I think it was, using the wonderful Christmas that is the same poinsettia spray, only smaller, in a stamp and die. So we've basically got a lot of things that work tremendously together. Then we've got a ton of sentiments. Some of the sentiments are glimmer, and then we've got all of these outline sentiments that are basically the same as the glimmer, but they're die cut. So you can do the same kind of design multiple ways with one set. So I'm going to go ahead and just tape my foil down to my cardstock. I'm finding that worked really, really well on a recent project that I did, to be able to make sure that everything stayed exactly where I wanted it. And I'm going to try just put a little bit on the edge, because another thing I noticed is that when you do glimmering with any kind of tape over the foil, the pressure from your die cutting machine when you run it through does cause a little bit of overfoiling where the tape was. Okay, so now I'm going to place my panel right in the center, and I'm going to be die cutting this one out, so it doesn't really matter exactly where it is, other than it needs to be it needs to have foil underneath the whole thing. Now I'm going to take another couple of pieces of the Best Ever Craft tape from Spellbinders and tape that down onto my panel there. And of course now it is also taped to my desk. Just wrap the tape around the outside so everything stays in place, and I'm going to place this down with the glimmer plate. The flat side of the glimmer plate is going to be face down onto my glimmer machine. One thing you always want to note is that the shiny side needs to be facing away from the cardstock, and the image needs to be facing towards the cardstock for your glimmer plate. Now I'll turn it upside down, put that on my glimmer system, which is already heated up and ready to go, and just click the timer button, which I have forgotten to do, and you don't want to do that, because then your system is never going to be ready. Now I can just put this over the top there. While we're waiting for that, I can go ahead and start die cutting out some of the sentiments and such from the outline Christmas sentiments. And I think what I want to start off with is maybe some reds. We've got our pretty little poinsettia here, and I think that will work right. And I'm using some of the cardstock that came in the card kit of the month for this month as well. And this is also a great use for your scraps, because then you don't waste any of the cardstock that you've got, right? And I like arranging them pretty close together so that I don't waste any. I'm also going to use some washi tape for this part. I like using my Best Ever Craft tape when I'm using the glimmer, because it works really, really well there. The adhesive doesn't tend to stick to the cardstock after you run it through with the heat. But I don't really need to waste all of that. I can use some of my cheaper washi tape. So my Glimmer machine is all ready to go. So I'm going to gently pull that out. So hopefully I don't get any shiftage. And I'm going to go ahead and run that through my die cutting machine. I do have the spacer pad and the shim on there to make sure I get good pressure. If it turns out that your image is, if you get overfoiling, then you'll probably want to remove that shim and try it with just the spacer pad. So let's go ahead and take a look and see how this turned out. I'll get my Glimmer plate out of the way, Glimmer system out of the way, and then we can do a quick reveal. And be careful when you're touching the plates because they are pretty hot. Actually, I want to take a peek first, make sure everything is where I expect it before. Yeah, it looks like I got good coverage there. Awesome. Okay, getting that plate out of the way so I don't burn my fingers. And you can see the impression on the foil, so that is going to be lovely. And this will make for a really good reverse image using one of the solid plates, the solid Glimmer plates. Those are just fantastic. Okay, so here we go. And that is lovely. And to be honest, I don't know that I actually have to remove it from the, I don't know that I have to die cut this one out. The positioning is actually pretty good if I decide to go with a sentiment across the center. So I'm going to do a little bit of die cutting and make up my mind as to what I want to do with these. Stop recording. So what I decided to do, even before doing any kind of die cutting, is I've decided that what I want on here is this reverse image. I'm going to do this one on a piece of red cardstock. It's the same red cardstock I'm going to be die cutting some of the sentiments out of. And I'm taping my reversed foil image down to my piece of cardstock. The cardstock is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and that also allows you to be able to place your image exactly where you want it. And I'm thinking, kind of want the same as what I did for that, right? And then I'm going to take one of the essential solid plates and just place that down over where I want my image. I think I want to do it kind of sort of in the middle, and that does mean we're going to have a little bit of the image coming off, and that is totally fine because we do that with stamping all the time, right? Now I'm going to tape this down onto the cardstock using some more of that Best Ever craft tape. Okay, and then I'm going to put this on my Glimmer machine that is sitting off to the side and is already heated up still. I just need to set the timer. Okay. So placing it foiled, the foil plate down, and then placing my thin shim and spacer pad on top, and then hit the button so it can heat up. And now while I'm doing that, I'm going to go ahead and die cut a few of the sentiments and my little poinsettia flower here. And I did decide to go with a little bit larger of washi tape. I've got a lot of little washi tape things and rolls and all the things, just like most of us do, so I've got way too much washi tape anyway, and that makes for, this is a really good use for it. Okay. I'm going to be using Magic Matte as usual. That definitely has saved my plates a lot, and you do want to try to put your sentiments and all of everything that you die cut, you try to put them at a little bit of an angle. If you put them in straight this way, it puts too much pressure on the machine and you'll get that big thump, and sometimes it'll cut right and sometimes it won't. If you put them in vertically, then it doesn't always cut right either. So if you do them sideways like this, it should cut through fine. And depending on your machine and the amount of pressure, sometimes you do need to use a shim and that sort of thing. Okay. Let me go ahead and get these out of the way because it looks like my Glimmer system is all ready to go. And those cut out perfect. just get this out of the way and I can go ahead and run my glimmer plates through. Okay, so pulling this out gently and then just run that through. And then we can see how this reverse image looks. Okay, looking at this side, it does look shiny right in the center, right where that square is, so that is good. Usually you'll see the impression of the letterpress on the opposite side of your cardstock when you do get a good impression. Okay, taking that off, and it looks like it is cooling down pretty decent, so that is good. Now I can take this tape off. And you've already got a little bit of an idea there of what this is going to look like. And I think that turned out fabulous. And as expected, I don't have any sticky residue from underneath my tape, so that is fantastic. Okay, so this one, because it is so vibrant, so much gold and red, I am going to trim this down a little bit. And then I'll put it on a white card base, and I haven't decided on the colors of my sentiments yet, but these two are basically pretty much done. Only issue with the first one, this image does have a little bit of overfoiling around the edges, but I can just take my sand eraser to that and clean that up. If you do a lot of scrubbing over the foil itself, you could damage the texture on there, but you're not going to remove all of the foil on there, so it'll still look okay. But if you want it to stay with that real pretty shininess, you don't want to go over it too much, not on the main image with that sand eraser. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do some die cutting and trimming these down, and then we can put together a couple of cards. So I'm trying something a little bit different as usual. I'm always trying something a little bit different. But I decided to glimmer up some vellum. Now, I'm not good at this. I actually ran it through twice and managed to have everything in place, because the first time around, my glimmer didn't really want to stick in some places. I just didn't seem to get enough pressure, so I decided to run it through a second time. And there is a bit, like over with the S, that it didn't quite get enough. And the reason I'm thinking of doing that is that the panels that I've got are so bold, and I want the sentiment to be able to be seen too. So I think what I'm going to do for this one is put that one over my red. You can still see the sentiment pretty well, and you can see all of the glimmery goodness without covering up a lot of that foil. So I've done the same kind of thing with the die set, the outline Christmas sentiments. I also cut out a bunch of the dies from the die set. I'm going to have to go back and see which one is which. I know that the flowers and stems came from one of the sets, and I think it was the Outline Christmas Sentiments. And I went ahead and did those because I want to use some of these poinsettias. Now, I don't know how many I want to use or if they're actually going to make their way onto these cards. I think they will. But let me go ahead and assemble the little poinsettias first. Now, we've got... They basically comes with one layer, but I'm thinking it would be pretty to have like a double layer like that. So what I'm going to do is first I think I want to curl up the edges a little bit, and I'm just going to grab my mouse pad. I've got my computer going, all that stuff, so I've got my mouse pad here anyway, and I'm just going to kind of just use a ball stylus to give a little bit of shape to the leaves. And this specific one has a little bit of gold on there too, because I had some overfoiling on one of the foil pieces that I did, and I just used the scrap from that. So it's got a little bit of interest already there. I think that's kind of cool. So I'm just kind of just running this thing along those edges, just to round them out a little bit, and it does make the tips of the petals rather raise up a little bit. When you're thinking of a poinsettia though, it's not really a flower. It's actually, if I remember correctly, it was a weed that people decided was pretty, and so they decided to start propagating it. At least that's what I've heard. I might, you'll have to Google that to make sure. But the red part of the poinsettia, it's actually parts, they look exactly like the leaves except for the color. So my thought is that it is not an actual flower in the sense of a flower. It's actually, these are leaves, but they are still so pretty. I love the look of poinsettias at Christmas time, and yeah, I'm always afraid I'm going to kill them. The last one that I had in my house was when I was a kid, and I think my dogs ate it. So I haven't really had one since. So I cut out enough to have basically 2 of the bloom kind of things from a poinsettia plant. Now I'm going to go ahead and glue those together layered up. And then I can use one or both on one of my cards, or I can save them for a later card. But I did want to go ahead and make some of those since I've got these dies out right now. And I'm going to offset it so that the 5 leaves or petals of the top one are right in the middle of those from the first. So now we've got 10 petals there, so we've got a full poinsettia. Okay, and then I can set that one off to finish drying while I do the second one. And I have been so busy with some other things, editing and that sort of thing, and getting ready for the class that I did last weekend, that I really haven't had a lot of time to just sit and play. So, and then these die sets, when I got them out, I'm thinking, you know, I'm not sure what I want to do with these, because, you know, they all look so, similar. You could do the exact same thing with all of them, and you know, I'm deciding, it was really interesting. I sit down to start making this video, and it's like, I just am having so much fun. It's like, I love Glimmer anyway, and then when they turn out as gorgeous as these, and then of course I decided to try out a couple more things. And isn't that the way it usually works when you are doing your craftiness? So what I'm doing is I'm taking the poinsettia off to the side, back over on my mouse pad, and just pressing down in the center with the ball stylus to give it a little bit more of a cupped look. This gives a little bit extra dimension. I've got a bunch of leaves here and some of these little stems, again from the same die set. And I also cut out some of the little circles. There's a die that does all these little circles, and right now I don't remember where it is. I will find it when it comes time to put them away. I'm going to just add those to the tips. So these are going to be some little accent pieces I could add to something. And again, you don't have to get all of this stuff done right while you've got it out, but you know what? I like having the little embellishments ready to go. I'm more likely to use them if I have the embellishments already ready, right? And of course, you can always do these little berries or blossoms or whatever they're supposed to be. You can do those in any color. So that's what those are going to look like. I do have a few more, so I can do a second stem. Didn't cut out quite as many of the little red dots as I did everything else, but you know what? That's okay. These are also bits that you could add Nouveau drops or a gem to each of those pieces there, so you don't have to use the dies. You can use whatever you want in your stash. Okay, so we've got a couple of those, we've got plenty of leaves, so let's go ahead and start putting these guys together. I'm going to start with this one. What I need to do is, we've got our little fine line sentiment, and I need to put it onto the vellum. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some glue to my hand, and then I'm going to tap it along the back of this fine line to try to get adhesive over pretty much the whole thing without getting it too much anywhere. Because if I tried to add adhesive directly to the back of this, there'd be places, number one, that I missed, and places that I would put too much on, and I don't want to do that. I want this to stick to the vellum, and I don't want it to be seen. You know how it is with vellum, so I'm going to be very careful and try to place that right in the middle. You guys have to wish me luck, because we know how it is when you're trying to put down a sentiment. Sometimes it doesn't go completely straight. So just hold that down. It's already a little off. It's already a little bit wonky. But this glue, this art glitter glue, does dry clear and it does dry matte, so it should be fine even with it being a little bit off. And I'm going to say that that is close enough. Okay. And I'm going to do the same thing with my Mary. This one is in 2 pieces, so I'm going to start off with the M, I think. And another option would be to use your Xyron, and I am going to use that on my finished one, but the little tiny pieces, I had a little bit of issue with it when I tried to use that last weekend with the tiny, tiny pieces. So I'm going to decide instead to just put a little bit of glue on the back of the letter portion first, put those down onto the vellum, and then I'll have a slightly larger piece to go through the Xyron machine. And also put adhesive over the entire back of the vellum so that you're not going to see it on the finished card. Okay. And I am doing pretty good with getting plenty of glue on the back of my sentiment. So that is awesome. And like with everything else, this last one is of course easier for me to put on than the first one, because every time I practice, it does take me a time or two to get it done right. So now I've got my Mary and I've got my Christmas. And these are ready to go on the front of my card here. Oh, these are pretty. Okay, before I do that, do I want to add any of the berries and stuff? And do I want to have it kind of sticking behind? Because I think that's what I want to do. Maybe have it there. See, I think I'm going to move it down just a touch and then put my Christmas over the top, right about there, and then have my Mary right about there. I think that's going to work. So I'm going to go ahead and put my Xyron, put these through my Xyron. And I think what I'm going to do is leave them basically where they are and put them in one at a time. And then I can put them in place and remember where it was I wanted to put it. And this, of course, if I do it like this, I'm going to waste too much of it. Okay, I'm going to just go with it. I don't like wasting, and these, I don't have another refill, so if I run out of it this time, I'm not going to have anything else to mess with it. I'm not going to, and it's not going in there. Okay. Okay, so I'm peeling off this excess plastic, and that's the part that after you do all of this, there is a bunch of sticky stuck on there, so you need to be a little careful with it. It looks like I've got a little bit of something in here that's, okay, I see what that is. It's basically my, when I put that through, it looks like something kind of went a little bit wonky, so I'm going to need to kind of stretch it out a little bit. There we go. My vellum got wrinkled, so now I've got that straightened back out, so that'll work. It's a little bit concerned there. First, I'm going to add my little berries down, and this is Just a little sticker now. It's got all that sticky is on the back. And I'll add my berries right about here because I think that's where I said I wanted them. And I'll put down my Christmas. And then we get sticky all across the back, so that means that we can put it down. It's going to stick like we want it to, but it's not going to be seen. Make sure I get that about straight. And that does look like it is about straight. Because you know me, my sentiments are normally a little bit off, and that always irritates me. Okay, now we're going to go with our Mary. Same thing, we've got adhesive all on that backing. And I did burnish it with a scoring tool, with my scoreboard tool, around the edges to try to get rid of some of the little spider webby thingies. Bits of the adhesive. Didn't get all of them, but I got most of them, so that is good. Okay, so that panel is all done. I think that is super pretty. So that just needs to be added to a card base. Let's take a look at the other one. This one, I did that gold foil and had it die cut out of vellum. So I'm going to give this one a try too. Put the whole sentiment through my Xyron. Always have trouble grabbing the adhesive part. Okay, there we go. And this one actually went through easier than the other. And now I'm going to just burnish it down. I do see that a little bit came off the edge, but that is okay. We only have a little bit of the sentiment popping off the side. We are fine. And I think I kind of want to do the same kind of thing with this one. Maybe have the berries. Or is that too much red? That might be too much red. I think I'm going to not go with any additional on this one. No additional embellishment. Just go with this gold and vellum sentiment. Peeling off that sticky plastic. And then we've got our gold vellum sticker. Okay. And I think I'm going to put it in about the same position as I did on the other card. Okay, and now all I need to do is adhere both of those to some card bases. So for the first one, I think I'm going to just add it straight down to my card base. This is the one with the reverse foil. And keep it really, really quick and easy and clean and simple. And with this one, because the panel is slightly smaller than A2 size, we're going to have a nice white border all the way around. And I think that will be just perfect for this card. So that one is all done. For this one, I decided I want to add a little bit of foam to the back of it, primarily because it is white on white. We've got a white card base, we've got the white panel, and I want to do something to kind of show that it is a second piece, number one, and give it a little bit something extra, right? So I'm just going to add some foam tape to the back, like I do on so many of my cards. And this is some thin foam tape from Scotch I get off of Amazon. And it is about 1/8 of an inch thick. So it's not too thick. It doesn't give you any kind of problems usually when you send it through the mail. At least I've never had any issue with it. And it also allows you to be able to layer up a couple of layers if you want to. So I'm going to go ahead and just pull back all of my release paper and then center that in the middle of my card. And because I do want a little wiggle room, I'm going to add some art glitter glue to the back. That helps for when I don't quite get everything straight, because it'll let me move it around just a little bit. Okay, make sure I know which end is up and which is down. That's another issue. You don't want to put your panel down on upside down. And just kind of center that in the middle of the card. And then that one is done. And of course it is a little bit off, so it's a good thing I added that art glitter glue. I had it a little bit too close to the bottom compared to the top. So let's do that one more time. Okay, that looks like it's centered. Okay, great. So that is my 2 cards for this project today. You guys have a wonderful day, and if you'd like to see some more videos where I'm using Spellbinders products, be sure to check out the playlist. Got all of the products listed down below for your convenience, and I've added a poll down there so you guys can let me know what kind of videos you'd like to see from me. So I would love it if you would go ahead and answer that for me as well. You guys have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you soon. Bye for now.